Hello, today I'm going to show you our product manager. It's a template in Notion that displays a page of all of your products so you can keep track of what you've got, how much money they've made, and develop new ideas all in one place. So to start with, if I show you this dashboard, it essentially gives you ideas for creating a plan for your products, an annual plan for your products, showing you the best sellers by month and by year, and an overall picture of sales in general, so all of your sales. And then below that we have 5 different phases that product development your products can sit in, and that may vary depending on the type of product, but it at least gives you somewhere to store your ideas, and then once you start ready to develop them, then you can do a design, maybe move it on to development, testing if that's appropriate, and then publishing the product. So you can see all of your products you've got in whatever status they happen to be in. Below that, it's just really showing you a dashboard of your sales so far this year. So the first bit is about year. Obviously it's dependent on you putting the sales figures in, and the profit is calculated based on how, when you set up your products, what profit margin you indicate that product has, and that same calculation is then done on a monthly basis throughout the current year. These are really just giving you the high level view by month for the current year of the sales numbers, so how many orders you've had and how much profit you've made. It doesn't give you the detail of each product. That would be found in the sales, and a breakdown of the best sellers, etc., are found in best sellers. So let's dig in to the plan to start with. So the annual plan gives you a monthly view of what you could be working on each month. These are the items that are in here are based on common types of seasonal goods that you may want to make throughout the year, and it indicates when you need to start creating your products, when you need to start photographing them, loading them onto Etsy, and then doing the appropriate marketing based on when they should be sold. So you'll see that for Valentine's Day, which is obviously in February, so you're wanting to do your main marketing running up to Valentine's Day, but actually if we scroll across to December, well, even November, we start creating, or it's ideal to start creating your Valentine products in November so they're ready to be sold in February. This may change for you. It's whatever's appropriate for you. You may not have seasonal specific products. You may have a completely different type of product that you need to prepare at a particular time of the year. And also you may just want to use it to account for your known lulls, so that you can get ahead of yourself when you know you're going to be quiet from a sales perspective. So that's the plan. It just gives you an idea of somewhere you can go to look to see what you should be working on at any given month. Go back to the dashboard and let's go to the sales first. Now this is dependent on loading the sales figures into the system. So for me, this was downloading the Etsy order file and just importing it into the system. When you buy it, there's a whole load of tutorial videos that will show you how to do this. So if we now look at bestsellers, which uses the data that we've just seen in the sales system, it will show you the products that have made the most profit for you in the last month, and the products that made the most profit for you in the current year. So obviously you can change the sort if you would prefer to see the number of orders rather than by profit. That's up to you, and you can take it from there. And there is also a sum of, for all of the products that have been sold, this is it. This is the number of orders, and this is the profit that you've made. That should correlate to the values on the dashboard for the month and the year, because this is only showing the products that have actually sold in that month and year. So that's the best sellers. And then if we look at the phasing of the products, what this does is just allows you to record something to remind you of any ideas that you may have. So you can just log it and forget about it, go back to something else. Once you then want to move on from that product, you can take your ideas. Let's go back to the ideas. You can take an idea, move it to design, and then if we go to the design section now, then that document, that idea is there, and you just move it on from there, so you can fill out the information. What we have when you're creating a new product is a template, and that template will give you the framework for defining your product. So you can do it from the main table, any one of the product tables, you can create it from there and it will create the new product. Or you can go into the product, fill in a bit of information up the top, and then you've got the template button down here, and that will create the data. So again, it kind of follows the status, the phases that you want to go through. So from idea, and it gives you some sections for you to think about when you're developing your products. Now, these come from how Amazon designs their products, and what they try and do is create a sales page before you develop a product, so you know exactly what you're targeting. So that's what that's about, to help focus what you're doing, and you don't create something that people don't want. You're basically making sure that you can justify why you're creating that product and who you're selling it to, who you're aiming to sell it to. From there, we have a section for costs, of which you can fill in suppliers, material costs, etc. And then that can be stored for you to use for any other products. Labour costs, so how much you think it's going to, how many minutes or whatever that it's going to cost you, and what your price per hour is, and therefore it calculates your labour cost for the product. And then you can then add in any overhead costs that are then spread over multiple products, hopefully all of your sales and not just on one product, but it's making sure you're covering costs that you do still have to pay, but they're not product specific. So once you've got all of your costs in place, you can then work out, use those costs, feed them into the pricing, and that will then come up with your baseline price. If you put in a percentage markup, and it'll work out what your recommended retail price is, what your profit is. You can then take those two values and populate it up at the top for your main details, and that will then be used to calculate, to display in all of the sales areas, so that it works out what your profit is rather than just your revenue. So moving on from all of your pricing and costing, you've got design, so it's just making sure you've followed what you, it pads out further your idea, and it gives you a few check boxes to make sure you've completed certain things. Obviously you can add more in that's relevant to your product creation. Development, similar sort of thing, an area for you to put notes. Testing, again, if you require testing for your type of product, then making sure that you've got whatever your test is and what the results are, to make sure that it's fully compliant. Finally, well, not finally, but the next thing is publishing it. So we have areas for you to do your keyword research. So there can be an overall keyword research database here that you can use. Link it by categories, so you define your categories, say what keywords you can use, what the competition is, etc. So they've always got a record of some keywords for your research. And then when you come to creating your tags and titles, when you fill this in here, so fill in your title, it will tell you how many, so far, how many characters you've used. 11. So that you can make sure you only use the appropriate level for Etsy. So 20 characters in your tags for Etsy, so it lets you know you fill in your tags to make sure you're making the best use of space. And the same with the title, you've got 140 characters, so you fill in your title and tell you how many characters you've got left, how many you've used, sorry. And then there's an extra bit once you're published to go back and review your keywords and see where you're going. All of this is documented in tutorials once you've bought the product. And then finally there's a market section. So within Notion you may already have a marketing page, so you can link that in, and then that product will then, you'll have a record of when you market each product, so you know what's happened and what the results are. And that's the overall template that we'll then use to get you through into the published state, from a new idea through to publish. And that's pretty much it as far as the product manager is concerned. So we have a way of just keeping track of your products so that you can see where you're making your profits, what's working and what's not working, so that you can create and build more products that are going to be competitive. As with all Notion products, this can be used on the desktop app, through a browser, on a tablet, iPad, on your phone. Everything is synced together, so you've always got access to it.